PowerMaster Performance, we offer many different types of starter lines. We offer the old bulky style starters to the more modern mini starters that is used by the OE, to our Ultra Torque starter, which is used in drag racing applications and high performance applications. Today we're going to talk about our XS Torque starter. This starter has an encapsulated solenoid, great for high heat applications, got a very small, powerful motor, up to 18:1 compression ratio. The one feature that PowerMaster offers that most people don't know about is our Infi-Clock feature. This allows you to rotate the body of the starter up to 360 degrees for clearance for oil pans and headers. Today we're going to show you how this all works. Well, we got our 40 Ford here with a small block Chevy, so we can see that there's might be some issues. We're going to try and fit this up in here. Now this has a 168 tooth flex plate on there, and we're getting awful close right here. So this is where our Infi-Clock feature will help us rotate this body so we can get some clearance for the header and get away from some of this with the wires. We're back at our workbench here. We're going to loosen up these two torque spits here. They're T25 torque spits. We're going to loosen up our Infi-Clock and rotate the block 180 degrees to help give us enough clearance. I give it a little jiggle, rotate our block. Now, when we go to tighten these, our instructions say 50 inch-pounds or wrist tight. After you have it set, this is for checking purposes, after you have it set, we're going to add blue Loctite to the threads. So this will be for checking purposes right now. Let's go back over to the vehicle and see how we did. We're back at our Ford here. We're going to install this after we twisted the mounting block. And just setting it up there, you can see how much clearance we gained on the starter body itself just by rotating the motor down. That's the features of the Infi-Clock to help us out. So now we're ready to Loctite this down, and we'll go ahead and put our starter bolts in and do our pinion measurement to get the proper clearance. Okay, when installing in starters, always use the bolts supplied by PowerMaster. They're special knurled, they're special height to go with our machined block. I'm going to bolt this up here just snugly so we can get some measurements on everything. First measurement we're going to check is the pinion gear to flex plate clearance. That clearance needs to be a minimum of 100 thousandths, and it should be checked on a couple of different locations by rotating the flywheel. Sometimes you get a flywheel that has a little warp or a little bend in it, and that can mess up our measurement. Okay, after mounting this up, we're a little too close on our clearance between the pinion gear and the flex plate, so we're going to pull the starter down. PowerMaster supplies an inner shim that goes in between the mounting block and the starter body, and we're going to put that in and give us a little more clearance, and we're going to show you how that's done. I'm going to pull this down and head over to the workbench. Okay, we got our shim out of the box. We're going to install it into our Infi-Clock block. I've already pre-loosened some of these screws, so let's go ahead and get to it here. Now sometimes this block is a little bit of a pain in the butt to get off, but not today. We're going to install our shim right onto the snout here. It goes only in one place. We marked our block, so we're going to put it right back on where we took it off so we don't have to readjust anything. Put our two Infi screws back in, torque them down, and then we're going to go back over and check everything and make sure we have the correct measurement and proceed on with the install. Okay, we got our shim installed, we got our starter bolted back up just temporarily, and we're going to check our clearances. So we're a little right at about 100 thousandths with the three feeler gauges stacked together. So what we're going to do here is we're going to rotate the flywheel to give us a couple of different areas of checking the clearances. Looks like we're definitely good there. After we have our flex plate to pinion gear clearance checked, we're going to pull the pinion gear out into the flex plate and check our gear mesh. Now that's the point where the pinion gear and the flex plate are engaged, and we're going to check at the base of the pinion gear, and that needs to be 25 to 35 thousandths, or the standard width of a paper clip. Our next step is checking our in and out measurement and our up and down measurement on this. So we're going to pry the gear out. We want to make sure that we're 50 to 70% of the pinion gear being used by the flex plate or flywheel. And we need to check our gear mesh. That's where the paper clip comes in. And if we're too tight, that changes the up and down of the starter. And that's what the pinion gear mesh does. So we are a little too tight on this. So what we need to do is we need to add the shim to the top of the starter. And we're going to show you how to do that. PowerMaster supplies 2 shims with all of their block mounting kits. We only need 1 for this application. While we're here, we're getting ready to do our final install. We want to make sure that the mounting block is clean, paint-free, oil-free, grease-free. The starter has to ground through that mounting block. With our shim installed, we should have the proper clearance. We pulled the starter down a little bit, so now we can check our clearance here. And with that, we're about perfect. 25 to 35 thousandths. Okay, we have our starter bolted up. We have all of our measurements done. We have our 50 to 70% in and out. We have our gear mesh set at 25 to 35 thousandths. We have our 100 thousandths static measurement between the pinion gear and the flywheel. We've hooked up our cables. Now, speaking of cables, we want to run large, fine strand copper cables. If your battery's up front, you can get away with a 4 gauge. If your battery's in the trunk, you definitely want to use a 0 gauge or double 0 gauge. The final step that we want to do with the starter is the electrical side. We want to make sure both terminals on the starter have at least 11 volts while cranking the starter. This will prevent any type of damage to the solenoid. With that being said, we're going to get ready to fire this thing up, and let's take a listen. Starter sounded great. That's why we take the time to do the proper measurements. If you have any installation issues or any technical questions, please contact us at 630-957-4019 or look us up on the internet at powermasterperformance.com. Thank you for watching.